Hello everybody, my name is Paul from Cryonetic. I'm continuing the Blender to Unreal tutorial series. In today's tutorial, we'll be creating a low polygon mesh using a method called Retopology, which afterwards we'll create some UV maps for and then make a normal map. So let's get started. As always, I have screencast keys enabled here at the bottom left, so if I push a button, you can see everything if I forget to mention. So Shift C to center our 3D cursor, Shift A will create a plane. We'll rotate that plane and put it in front of our high polygon model. Tab to go into edit mode, Control R, cut it in half, and then delete the one side. To top here, your modifiers tab, and add a mirror modifier, and enable clipping. Just going to shrink this down. And that should actually be fine. Now, extruding, if you hit Shift R after extruding, it will repeat the steps of your extrude. But one thing to bear in mind here, if you push extrude and you right click to cancel your extrude, which means you can still move your extrusion around afterwards, if you hit Shift R then, it's not going to extrude that piece, it will just move it up those increments. So just keep that in mind. So extrude and then Shift R all the way to the top. There we go. Now two things to enable. A few things here at the bottom. Snap during transform, and then face. That will mean that instead it will try and snap to the face closest to the vertex that you have on there. And then over here, project individual elements on the surface of another object. That means that the vertices will snap onto our high polygon mesh over here. To demonstrate this, let's just grab everything in the center here. If you push G, you'll see it automatically has snapped to the model. There we go. So let's select this side, go to the side view here, and then I'm just going to move it around about the center. Let's move it to about there, and to make sure that all these edges just snap onto that. Then a quick and easy way to make sure that you have a fairly nice looking model, Shift R, and we're going to do this in, let's do it in 4 increments. And then hit G again. From the side view, and there we go. I'm not too happy with this one. Let's just try that process again. Now the thing to keep in mind here as well, remember it snaps its geometry according to what angle you're looking from. So if I look from this angle and I try and move, it will snap everything to that side. So because most of the detail is in the front, try and keep it to the front there. I'm just going to add one more cut here. Oops, and I'm going to put this into the side view. There we go, that looks fairly nice and decent. It's going to move this off a little bit. The idea would be to try and keep everything fairly nice and detailed. I'm trying to make it as low polygon as possible, but if you add more cuts in here and you move it around, you can make that piece look better or things like that. So, but for what I created, I think that should be more than sufficient. Then I'm just going to go into the back view. I'm going to extrude. Whoa. Okay, now just bear in mind that because I got clipping enabled, just move it out first, otherwise it will just clip to itself at the location where it was. So there we go. The model is clipped. Let's go back there, just hit G again. There we are. And I think that I'm going to add, let's do 3 to start off with. Three looks fine. I'll just do one more for over here. Probably add a bit more detail here in the front, but as I mentioned before, that's not necessary. Now I'm going to disable all these options because I do not need them at the current moment. I'm going to select my high polygon mesh and I'm just going to push M to move it to a different layer. Then just some cleanup to do here. Select the face side there. Extrude. No, sorry. That would be best if I use the vertex selection. Then I'm just going to merge that one and that one. Let's just do it at the center. That might not actually be necessary. Let's just delete all of that. Let's see how far we get if we just fill these faces in. Alright, I'm going to hit into a bit of snag there. And let's do a loop cut here. Might notice I made a triangle there. Well, I am going to triangulate this model afterwards, so it should not be too much of a problem. There you go. I'm just going to move that up a bit. And then basically it's just going to be the same process here. And that just has a bit stranger deformation there. But let's get started. That should actually all look pretty fine. And then I'm just going to apply the mirror modifier. There we go. That should just make sure that it didn't make any additional faces. Alright. Well then, let's just enable smooth shading. Looks pretty decent. And now we're just going to quickly create a UV seam for this in edit mode. So let's just do the edge select. I'm going to select the bottom edge here. And then I'm going to go all the way to the top. Just see. Hold Alt and right click. Then it will select all the way in line to the top there. So then I'm just going to Control E. Sorry, push Shift E and just mark a seam. Then just make sure that you get the duplicate seams on this side. Control E again, mark seam, select that one, then go back to the bottom one here. Control E, mark the seam, and then just make sure that the two seams connect. Now we're going to select everything, push U and click unwrap. And if we go into our UV image editor, you'll see that two fairly nice looking cucumbers. Now these are just our UV maps that we have now actually created for the model. So let's just make a texture for it. We're going to use a 2048 by 2048 texture, and we're going to call this normal. Click OK. Now afterwards you can actually just pack your islands better or try and make some better seams somewhere else, but this is just like the basics to get this into, as I said, Unreal Engine 4. Okay, so we're going to go here onto the second layer, select our high polygon mesh, move it to the first layer, go back to the first layer, then you'll see our high polygon mesh is still selected. Hold shift, right click to select the low polygon one, go over here to your render tab, the bake option, select normal, and click this option that says selected to active, and that should actually be fine for now. Just click bake. You'll see at the top it's doing some texture baking. Let's go into the UV image editor and see what it comes up with. There we are. I might just tune that margin down a little bit. Let's just see. Oops. Just see if everything looks okay. In some cases I find that if you find any artifacting, like this is a random stripe over here or over there, what I find is that if you triangulate the model, for some reason the baking looks a little bit better. Otherwise, just fool around with your margins over here and your distance. The distance would be just the distance that it takes into account with the faces from the model distance between the high-res model and the low-res model. So I'm just going to change the margins. I'm not going to change anything else because I actually believe the bake is pretty decent. And let's go back into the UV mode. There you go, margins are still a bit tight. I might fix that up a little bit later by just moving the UV islands around a bit, which I will show you in the beginning of the next video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment, and then I'll see all of you in the next video. Thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.